Hello, welcome to your video on factoring. This is the first factoring lesson, and it is on being able to factor polynomials, or specifically trinomials, that are in the form of x2+bx+c. Alright, so how do you factor polynomials in the x2+bx+c form? You're basically going to use the box method that we've been practicing. And I think this is the easiest way to go about it. Of course, there are other options. And instead of knowing the outside and finding the inside, you actually know the inside and are finding the outside. The part that gets tricky here, though, is that b term, the 8x, because you don't know how that's going to end up happening. In getting your answer. You know that when you combine these two boxes together, they have to add up to 8x. So start with the other two corners. So we know that x times x gives us x squared, and then we have 15. 3 times 5 would give us 15, or 1 times 15. I'm going to start with 3 and 5, and that's just kind of, you just have to guess and check it, and kind of use your instincts. If I have a 3 and an x, that gives me 3x. And then if I have x times 5, that gives me 5x. 3x and 5x, if I combine them together, do in fact give me the 8x there. So my answer to this problem is going to be x plus 3 and then x plus 5. Factor it out for x squared plus 8x plus 15. Here's another one for you. Same thing, draw that box. We're going to find the outsides when we know the inside. So x squared and then 24. And then these two other boxes, the middle ones, we know there's going to be x's, and combining them together will have to give us that negative 11x. So just keep that in mind. What can we factor out of x squared? Well, that's easy. X and x. X times x is x squared. 24, let's try 6 and 4. 6 times x is 6x, and x times 4 is 4x. When I combine those together, that's 10x, which is not the negative 11x that we need. So let's try something else. Again, it's just guess and check. Let's try, let's go 8 and 3. So now I would get 8 here and a 3 here. And then 8 and 3 make positive 11. The way to get negative 11 would be to make this negative 8 and negative 3. That would add multiply out to be a positive 24. So that works. Thus, my answer is x minus 8, x minus 3. Okay, and then you could, in fact, do the box method again to make sure you actually get the right polynomial. Alright, another example, final example here is x squared plus 2x minus 15. So again, draw your box. X squared is here, negative 15 this time, and then we know we have x's in these other two boxes. X would go here, it's pretty obvious. Then I'm going to start with that 5 and 3 again. We know that one of them has to be negative and one of them has to be positive since we're multiplying. And then all together it has to give us a 2x when we're done. So let's try it. Let's do a 5 and a 3 here would work. But then we need a positive 2x. So the way to get a positive 2x would be to have the positive 5 and a negative 3. Because that would give us a positive 2 when we add those together, and then we would still get our negative 15. So the final answer for this one is going to be x plus 5, x minus 3. Alright, your turn on these two questions. Make sure you are showing your work so that you know you are doing these correctly. Go ahead and pause your video. Alright, here are your answers. It doesn't really matter if you flip-flop the binomials here. So if you said r plus 3, r plus 8, that's the same thing. It's the commutative property. Go ahead and mark on your paper how you did. Start if you got it right, circle it if you got it wrong, so that I can see when you come to class. Alright, so factoring does exist in the real world, just like multiplying polynomials does and binomials. Instead of like finding the area of a rectangle, which you've done before, this one is actually when you're told the area and you are finding what the possible dimensions could be. So the area of a rectangle is given by the polynomial or trinomial x squared minus 2x minus 35. Possible dimensions of a rectangle. So this is why I really like using the box method, because it applies so nicely to real life situations, because most of the time it involves rectangularly shaped objects. So here we're just going to do our same old, same old. We have x squared, negative 35 here, and then all combined together we know it has to be negative 2x for an answer. So I have x and x. And then we have negative 35, so one of them has to be negative, one has to be positive. And let's go with 5 and 7. Negative 7 and positive 5. And that's how you will get that. So the possible dimensions, one would have to be x minus 7, and the other dimension would be x plus 5. And that is your answer. Second thing is factoring with two variables. So this is possible, and I think it's pretty fun actually too. So go ahead and make your box again. It works really, really well for these types of problems. So we have x squared in the inside, and then we have negative 55y squared over here. And then if we look at our middle term, our b term, it's 6xy, which means we need xy in both of these middle boxes. And when we combine them together, we have to have an answer of 6. So break it apart right away. We know x and x. That one's the easy one. In this other corner box, though, we have y squared. So that actually comes in helpful too, because we know that we have to have y and y. And that makes sense because x times y is how we're going to get xy in these other two boxes too. Now we just kind of have to guess and check. So negative 55 y squared, I could do 11 and 5, and then one of them would have to be negative. Let's go with the 5 here. So that would give us negative 5xy and then 11xy. And when I combine those together, I do end up with positive 6y. So my answer then to this problem would be x plus 11y and then x minus 5y. Two variables. All right, please tell me the factored form of this trinomial. All right, you should have gotten an answer of m plus 9n in parentheses and then m minus 3n in parentheses. If you have questions, we'll check in with you at school. All right, it is your turn on this one. Go ahead and do it and see what you come up with. Pause the video now, please. All right, answer is on the screen. If you got it right, please stop it. If you didn't, circle it so that when I come around and check, I know how you did. This is the end of your video. If on your notes at the bottom or the top, doesn't really matter, if you could tell me one thing you are most looking forward to in May, that would be wonderful. Have a great day.